Welcome to Divorced Dad's Rules for Raising Relatively Stable Kids, a book by Patrick Talley. Now, I put this book out about a month or two ago. It's available on Amazon and other places. Amazon's probably the easiest place to find it. Just search on my name or the title of the book. Over the course of the next month or two, I'm going to read through some chapters, very short chapters in the book, give you a glimpse of what's inside in hopes that you'll get a few laughs and maybe even learn something. I don't know. So this morning I think we'll find a short little chapter. Okay. How about Divorced Dad's Rule number 24? Shut down those projectors. Now, speaking of projection, it doesn't only come from the parents or grandparents. Projection comes at our kids and at us from every angle. Now, here are two stories, one about someone's projection onto my daughter and the other about someone's projection onto my son. Now, my daughter's freshman year in high school found her in the homecoming court. I guess some things haven't changed all that much since I was in high school in Texas. But it's my assumption, at least in Texas, the pageantry associated with homecoming and prom has grown as if it were on steroids. As part of being in the homecoming court, my daughter and I were to walk arm in arm to midfield at halftime of the big homecoming football game. They would announce our names and they'd announce all of the accomplishments that made her homecoming court material. Now, we both got dressed up as we needed to fit in with the rest of the pageant participants, and out we walked. As we walked along the out-of-bounds line and got to the 50-yard line to make that turn onto midfield, a lady said to my daughter, "Smile, honey. This is the biggest day of your life." Now, my daughter put on her Hollywood smile for the lady and, speaking through clenched teeth, said to me, "Oh, God, Dad, I hope this isn't the biggest day of my life. I hope my life holds far more than this." Now, I laughed at that and I told her perhaps it was the biggest day of that lady's life, but I was for sure betting that she would have many more outstanding, far more memorable days than this. People will push their stuff onto your kids at every turn, and your job as a parent is to keep those kids on their true path and not on the one that you or someone else wants to project onto them. Allow them to live their lives. My daughter had all new projection visited on her recently when she graduated from high school. We had a chance to talk about how significant and insignificant high school graduation really is. We talked about it merely being a passage, not unlike many other coming or historic passages in her life. This was simply another change of shoes. I did tell her, however, that one great aspect about this passage was that she was now given an opportunity to completely reinvent herself if she so chose. I told her that she was going off to college and only about 10 out of 40,000 people would have any notion of who she was. She could now become whomever she wanted to be. Heck, I told her she could even put on a British accent if she so chose. Nobody would know any better. Now, the real point of this is she could finally be exactly who she wanted to be, free from the constraints and projections of her mom and her dad and teachers and grandparents and all the others. She could put away any and all masks she may have been wearing in the past and open up to that wonderful life she chooses. She could step into her shoes and dance. Dance in her true shoes. Now, the male version of parental projection came no doubt from one of my many, many encounters with Little League dads. My son was a hell of an athlete. He still is. He now stands 6'2" or 6'3" and about 230 pounds as a 15-year-old. He played most sports when he was younger, and I coached most of his teams. My reason for coaching was to make sure that no Little League dads, basketball, football, baseball, whatever, ruined his experience. I had seen enough of that stuff by those backstage moms who infiltrated my daughter's theater experiences. Well, one baseball game we were getting killed. I mean, The other team was run ruling us on every inning. Their third base coach had his kids stealing on every pitch. I mean, every freaking pitch they were running. Our catcher, he was not any good, and the kid was a wreck from the tension of dealing with all those base runners. Now, kids know when they aren't having a shining moment, just like we do, and they tighten up, just like we do. The kid was totally locked up. "Hey, bud," I hollered from the dugout to the other coach. "Why don't you take your foot off the gas bit and quit stealing on every pitch? Give this catcher a break, man. He's freaking out back there." He didn't even turn around to look at me when he said, "You teach your catcher to catch, and I'll teach my kids how to steal." I wanted to walk out of that dugout and strangle that jerk right there on the spot. Instead, I walked out of the back gate of the dugout, walked around under the bleachers until I calmed down. Now, I'm from the day when dads brought their coolers to the baseball game, drank Slits in a can while their sons played ball. Trust me, as a kid, I'd seen my fair share of Little League dads going at it with umpires and other dads. Fist fighting dads at the ballpark. What a great memory from my childhood. Kind of a hallmark moment. Now, I wasn't about to put those images into my son's or his teammates' heads. Finally, I walked back into the dugout, and they were still stealing on us. Every pitch they were going, which by now was almost always a pass ball, as our catcher had the yips. I'd had enough of this crap. I got as close to that third base coach as I could while staying in our dugout, and quietly I said, "Hey man, just because you got cut from the team when you were a freshman doesn't mean you got to take it out on those 10-year-old boys." Now, for some reason the guy stopped sending the runners. I don't know, and I don't care why. I only care that he backed off the throttle. Parents and you can get awfully caught up in projecting their stuff onto kids' lives. Now make sure you don't. And make sure you defend the innocent ones, when you see it being done to them. And see.